Life unfolds in a manner that often seems chaotic, unpredictable, and overwhelming. But beneath that surface-level uncertainty, there is a structure and order, a path that has been set before you, though it remains obscured by hesitation, doubt, and inaction. The difficulty lies not in whether a path exists, but in whether you are willing to walk it. The reality is that your destination is already there, waiting. It exists in potential form, and it is your responsibility to make it manifest. People often live as though they are lost, as if they have no direction, but this is rarely true in absolute sense. More often, they know the next step they should take, but they hesitate. They are waiting for certainty, for the perfect conditions, for a guarantee that things will work out in their favor. They want to see the entire road laid out before them before they take a single step. But this is not how life works. No one is given a complete map. You are given a direction, a pull towards something greater than your current state, and the responsibility to pursue it with courage. Why then do so many resist this call? Because taking that first step means accepting responsibility, and responsibility is weighty. It demands effort. It demands sacrifice. It requires you to acknowledge that the only person who can truly shape your future is you. And this realization is terrifying because it removes the excuses that allow people to remain stagnant. It eliminates the possibility of blaming circumstances, bad luck, or other people. It places the burden squarely on your shoulders. But with that burden comes something remarkable: freedom. When you accept responsibility for your own path, you gain the power to shape it. Consider this: when people reflect on their lives, they often know deep down what they should be doing. They have an inner voice, an instinct that whispers the next right move. It might be a small adjustment, pursuing a long-neglected goal, stepping away from a toxic situation, or embracing an opportunity that seems daunting. But instead of listening to that voice, they hesitate. They make excuses. They drown out their own intuition with distractions and trivial pursuits. And over time, this hesitation becomes a habit. It becomes a way of being. There is danger in ignoring the path that has been set before you. When you resist what you know to be right, you do not stay in the same place, you deteriorate. You become more disillusioned, more resentful, more disconnected from the deep sense of purpose that gives life meaning. And this leads to suffering, not the kind that builds strength and character, but the kind that erodes the soul, the kind that makes people bitter, cynical, and lost. But the opposite is also true. The moment you decide to step forward, no matter how uncertain the road may seem, you begin to change. You align yourself with the order that exists beneath the chaos. You move in harmony with the deeper structure of reality, and you begin to realize something extraordinary. Momentum builds, progress compounds. The path that once seemed unclear starts to reveal itself, not all at once, but step by step. Each movement forward opens new doors, brings new opportunities, and strengthens your capacity to navigate the challenges ahead. It is important to recognize that this process does not mean the journey will be easy. Far from it. The moment you commit to walking your path, difficulties will arise. You will face setbacks. You will encounter resistance. You will struggle against self-doubt and fear. But these are not signs that you are on the wrong path. They are evidence that you are on the right one. Growth does not come through comfort. Strength is not developed in ease. The obstacles in your way are not there to stop you. They are there to shape you into the person who is capable of reaching your destination. So what does this mean practically? It means that you must take the first step today, not tomorrow. You must act despite your fear. You must move forward even when the road is unclear. You must trust that the next step will reveal itself once you commit to the journey. And when you do this, you will begin to see something incredible. The world responds. Doors open that you never noticed before. People enter your life who push you further. Strength emerges that you never knew you had. Your path is prepared. Your destination is waiting. But no one else can walk the road for you. No one else can bear the responsibility that is yours alone. The question is not whether you have a purpose, it is whether you will embrace it. The road will not always be easy, but it will always be worth it. And in the end, the greatest tragedy is not failure, it is never having started the journey at all. Fear is one of the most insidious forces in human existence. It disguises itself as caution, as prudence, as rational hesitation, but at its core, it is paralyzing. It keeps people from moving forward, from pursuing what they know they must, from becoming who they are meant to be. And yet, fear is not an external enemy. It is not something that simply happens to you. It is something that you participate in, something that you allow to dictate your choices unless you confront it directly. Consider the way fear operates in your life. You hesitate before making an important decision. You doubt your abilities, questioning whether you are capable of handling the challenges ahead. You fixate on worst-case scenarios, convincing yourself that failure, embarrassment, and loss are inevitable. This mindset keeps you locked in place. It justifies inaction. And the longer you remain stagnant, the more powerful your fear becomes. There is a fundamental truth that people often fail to recognize. Avoiding fear does not eliminate it. It strengthens it. Every time you choose comfort over confrontation, you reinforce the idea that you are incapable of handling the unknown. You teach yourself that safety is preferable to growth, that stagnation is preferable to transformation. And this comes at a cost, one that is far greater than any temporary discomfort you might experience from stepping into the unknown. Think about the people who never take risks, who never pursue what truly matters to them. They may tell themselves that they are being logical, that they are waiting for the right time, that they are protecting themselves from unnecessary hardship. But if you look closely, you will see that they are not at peace. They carry with them a quiet, underlying sense of dissatisfaction, of regret, of knowing that they could have been more. They have allowed fear to dictate their lives, and in doing so, they have denied themselves the opportunity to fully live. Now, the critical question is this: what exactly are you afraid of? Failure, rejection, uncertainty. All of these fears are understandable, but none of them are sufficient reasons to avoid action. Failure is painful, but it is also instructive. It teaches you what does not work. It sharpens your skills, strengthens your resolve, and forces you to improve. Rejection stings, but it also reveals what is not meant for you. It refines your direction, ensuring that you pursue only what aligns with your true purpose. Uncertainty is uncomfortable, but it is also necessary. It is the space in which growth occurs, in which transformation becomes possible. The truth is that fear is inevitable. It is not something you can eradicate entirely. But what you can do, what you must do, is learn to act in spite of it. You must decide that your potential is more important than your comfort, that your future is more important than your present safety, that the person you are meant to become is worth the temporary discomfort of stepping into the unknown. And how do you do this? You take action, no matter how small. You push forward even when every part of you wants to retreat. You challenge yourself to face the things that make you anxious, recognizing that each confrontation weakens fear's grip on you. And over time, something remarkable happens. Fear begins to lose its power. What once seemed insurmountable becomes manageable. What once felt overwhelming becomes just another challenge to overcome. This is how strength is built, not through avoidance, but through action. Not through waiting for fear to disappear, but through proving to yourself that you can move forward despite it. And the more you do this, the more you will come to see fear for what it truly is, an illusion. A trick of the mind designed to keep you small, to keep you safe, to keep you from stepping into the life you were meant to live. But safety is not the highest ideal. Security is not the ultimate goal. What matters, what truly matters, is growth, expansion, transformation. And none of these things are possible if you are ruled by fear. So if you are standing at the edge of something new, something uncertain, something that calls to you but also terrifies you, do not let fear be the deciding factor. Acknowledge it. Understand it. But do not obey it, because if you do, you will never know what could have been. You will never know how far you could have gone. You will never know who you could have become. And that, far more than any temporary discomfort, is the greatest loss of all. People often believe that their lives will change once they find clarity, once they fully understand where they are supposed to go, once the road ahead is illuminated. They wait, assuming that the perfect moment will arrive, that certainty will come like a revelation, making the path forward obvious and risk-free. But this is a flawed way of thinking, because clarity does not precede action, it follows it. If you stand still, waiting for the road to reveal itself, you will remain in the same place indefinitely. The only way forward is to move, even when the path is unclear. Consider this: when you walk through dense fog, you can only see a few steps ahead. If you demand to see the entire road before taking a single step, you will never move at all. But if you begin walking, the fog shifts, the next few feet become visible, and the journey gradually unfolds. Life operates in precisely this way. Your future is not something that will be handed to you fully formed. It is something that you must step into, something that is revealed only through movement and engagement with the world. This is why hesitation is so dangerous. When people feel unsure of where to go, they tend to freeze. They analyze, they ruminate, they weigh their options endlessly, believing that more thought will bring more certainty. But often this is just an excuse for inaction. Overthinking becomes a way to avoid risk, to delay discomfort, to maintain the illusion of control. But in reality, hesitation is not neutral, it is corrosive. It allows doubt to take root. It turns possibilities into regrets. And here is the difficult truth. There will never be a perfect moment. There will never be a time when you are completely prepared, when every question has been answered, when every fear has been eliminated. If you wait for that moment, you will wait forever. The people who achieve great things are not those who had everything figured out from the start. They are the ones who stepped forward despite their uncertainty, who moved before they felt ready, who understood that action itself is what creates the path. It is also crucial to recognize that the first step does not need to be perfect. Many people refuse to begin because they fear making mistakes, because they worry about looking foolish, because they believe that every decision must be the right one. But this is not how progress works. Mistakes are inevitable. Missteps are part of the process. The goal is not perfection, it is movement. It is better to move in the wrong direction and adjust than to remain motionless, hoping for absolute certainty. Think about the alternative. If you do nothing, what happens? Does life stand still? No. Stagnation is not a state of rest, it is a slow descent into decay. The longer you wait, the harder it becomes to move. The more you hesitate, the more paralyzed you become. Doubt grows stronger, opportunities slip away, and you are left wondering what could have been. And make no mistake, inaction is a choice. It is the choice to let life happen to you rather than to shape it. But the moment you take action, everything changes. The act of moving forward, even in the smallest way, creates momentum. It shifts your perspective, builds confidence, and reveals opportunities that were previously invisible. You begin to understand that progress is not about waiting for the perfect conditions. It is about creating them through movement. You learn that each step makes the next one clearer. You realize that the path was always there, you just needed to walk it. This is why it is so important to take action today, not tomorrow, not next week, not when things feel easier, right now. Because every day that you delay, you reinforce the habit of hesitation. Every moment that you wait, you strengthen the belief that you are not ready. And if you are not careful, you will wake up one day and realize that your entire life has been a series of missed opportunities, of roads never traveled, of steps never taken. So the question is not whether you should move. It is whether you are willing to face the discomfort of uncertainty in order to claim the life that is waiting for you. It is whether you are willing to let go of the illusion of certainty and embrace the reality of progress. It is whether you will allow fear to dictate your future or whether you will step forward even when the road is unclear. Because if you do, you will discover something remarkable. The act of moving forward does not just change your circumstances, it changes you. It transforms you into the kind of person who is capable of handling the challenges ahead, who is resilient in the face of uncertainty, who does not wait for life to hand them a destiny, but instead takes responsibility for creating it. And that is the difference between those who achieve great things and those who do not. It is not intelligence, it is not luck, it is not privilege. It is the willingness to take the first step even when the destination is still unknown. And that step, the decision to move forward despite fear and uncertainty, is the most important step you will ever take. Life is full of transitions, some expected, others sudden, even jarring. The movement from one phase to another often brings uncertainty, instability, and doubt. Many people resist these changes, clinging to the familiar, fearing that what lies ahead may not be as secure or as comfortable as what they are leaving behind. This is understandable, but it is also misguided. Because change is not something to be feared, it is something to be embraced. The refusal to accept change is, in effect, a refusal to grow. It is a denial of the very process by which people become who they are meant to be. People often talk about their dreams, their goals, their vision for the future. They imagine a life that is different from the one they currently live, one filled with meaning, purpose, and fulfillment. But what many fail to realize is that the path to that future always requires transformation. It demands that you leave behind certain habits, certain ways of thinking, even certain relationships. It requires you to become something more than you are now, and transformation is not a passive process. It is an active struggle. It requires effort, discipline, and above all, the courage to let go of what no longer serves you. But letting go is difficult. People form attachments to things that feel safe, even if those things are not good for them. They remain in jobs that drain them, relationships that limit them, routines that numb them, because these things are familiar. They know what to expect. And the unknown, by contrast, is terrifying. But here's the problem. Stagnation is not safety. It is the slow form of decay. To resist change is to resist life itself, because life is, by its very nature, movement. When something stops moving, it begins to wither. Imagine a river that ceases to flow. The water becomes stagnant, thick with algae and decay. It no longer sustains life, it suffocates it. The same is true for people. When they refuse to move forward, they become trapped in their own limitations. They stop learning, stop growing, stop evolving. And in doing so, they ensure that their future will be no different from their past. This is why it is so crucial to recognize when it is time to move on. There will be moments when you feel a deep, unsettling restlessness, a sense that where you are is no longer where you belong. This is not something to ignore. It is not simply dissatisfaction or impatience. It is a signal. It is a call to step into the next stage of your life, to embrace the change that is waiting for you. But if you ignore it, if you silence that inner voice out of fear, you do not eliminate the need for change, you only postpone it. And the longer you resist, the more painful the transition will become when it inevitably arrives. Because life does not wait. Opportunities arise and fade, doors open and close. And if you hesitate too long, you may find yourself standing in front of a door that no longer exists, wondering what might have been. So what should you do when you feel that it is time for a change, but you are afraid of what that change might bring? You take action, even in the smallest way. You do not need to overhaul your entire life in an instant. You need only to begin to take one step in the direction of what calls to you. This is how momentum is built, how fear is overcome, how transformation begins. And make no mistake, transformation is not easy. It requires sacrifice. It demands that you leave behind what is comfortable. It forces you to step into uncertainty. But what is the alternative? To remain trapped in a life that no longer fulfills you, to ignore the potential that exists within you, to reach the end of your days and realize that you never truly lived but only existed. That is a fate far worse than any temporary discomfort you might experience by stepping into the unknown. The truth is that change is inevitable. You cannot stop it. You cannot control it. But what you can do is choose how you respond to it. You can resist, clinging to what is safe, allowing life to pass you by. Or you can embrace it, trusting that the unknown is not something to be feared, but something to be shaped. You can choose to step forward, even when the path is uncertain. And in doing so, you can create a future that is not just different, but better. And that is what matters. Not just surviving, not just maintaining the status quo, but growing, evolving, and becoming the person you were always meant to be. But that can only happen if you are willing to let go of what is holding you back. Because on the other side of change is not just a different life, but a greater version of yourself. People often believe that their struggles are a sign that something has gone wrong. that if they were truly on the right path, life would be easier, the road smoother, the obstacles fewer. But this is a profound misunderstanding of how progress works. Growth is not the absence of struggle, it is its product. It is not what happens when life is easy, it is what happens when you confront difficulty head on, when you endure hardship, when you choose to push forward despite resistance. The most successful, fulfilled people in the world did not arrive at their destinations by avoiding difficulty. They arrived by facing it, by wrestling with it, by refusing to be broken by it. And yet so many people spend their lives trying to escape struggle. They look for shortcuts, for easier paths, for ways to avoid the discomfort of growth. But there is no path worth taking that does not demand something from you. There is no meaningful success that does not require sacrifice. Consider the process of building physical strength. If you want to grow stronger, you do not do so by lifting light weights that do not challenge you. You do so by lifting the heaviest weights you can bear, by pushing yourself to the edge of your ability again and again until what was once impossible becomes effortless. The same principle applies to every area of life. Growth only occurs when you challenge yourself. It only happens when you step into difficulty, when you take on burdens that force you to become more than you were before. And yet, people avoid difficulty. They tell themselves they are not ready, that they will begin when they feel more prepared, when they feel stronger, when life is less chaotic. But that moment never comes. Strength is not something you are given before you begin. It is something you earn by beginning. The only way to be ready is to start before you feel ready. This is why so many people remain stuck in lives they do not want, in situations that do not fulfill them. It is not because they lack talent or intelligence or opportunity. It is because they are unwilling to do what is difficult. They avoid the discomfort of change, and in doing so, they trade a lifetime of possibility for the fleeting comfort of inaction. But here is the hard truth. Avoiding struggle does not make life easier. It makes it harder. When you refuse to face challenges, those challenges do not disappear. They grow. They compound. They take root in your life, and over time, they become insurmountable. What could have been dealt with through courage becomes a source of chronic suffering. The fear of failure becomes a fear of trying. The discomfort of risk becomes a life of regret. And so the only real choice is this. Will you face difficulty willingly, or will you allow it to control you? Because difficulty will find you either way. There is no avoiding it. The only difference is whether you encounter it on your own terms or whether it corners you when you are least prepared. And here is something even more important. The struggle itself is not the enemy. It is the process. It is what forges you into the kind of person who can handle more, who can achieve more, who can withstand more. It is what separates those who rise from those who remain stuck. Because in facing difficulty, you do not just prove your strength, you create it. But this is not something that can be done passively. It requires a decision. It requires the choice to step into the discomfort of growth, to take on more responsibility than you think you can bear, to set a goal that is larger than yourself and pursue it with everything you have. And that is not easy. It is not supposed to be easy. But what is the alternative? To drift through life, waiting for things to change on their own? To spend your years avoiding difficulty only to find that avoidance has brought you nothing but weakness and regret? To look back at your life and realize that the person you could have become, the life you could have built, the things you could have achieved, all of it was lost, not because you were incapable, but because you refused to do what was necessary. That is not a path you want to walk. That is not a story you want to tell. And so the answer is clear. The path forward is not found in waiting or wishing or hoping that life will become easier. It is found in the willingness to step into challenge, to face struggle head on, to embrace the discomfort of growth, knowing that what lies on the other side is not just a better life, but a better version of yourself.